You're running late for work. Your phone buzzes with a bank notification and your heart drops faster than a lead balloon. Insufficient funds, $35 overdraft fee, all because that streaming service you forgot about decided to renew itself while you had $23 in your account instead of $25. Congratulations, you just paid a 700% interest rate on a $2 mistake. Welcome to the most expensive club in America, where the membership is free but everything else costs double. My name is Nick, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time obsessing over the hidden mathematics that keep regular people trapped in financial quicksand while others seem to glide effortlessly toward wealth. If you've ever felt like you're working harder every year but your bank account keeps laughing at you, or if one random Tuesday has the power to demolish your entire financial month, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that, like if this resonates with your soul. Today, we're not talking about cryptocurrency or day trading or whatever. Get rich quick scheme is trending on TikTok. We're diving into something much more sinister and way more real. We're exploring why being broke is literally the most expensive lifestyle choice you never consciously made. Here's what drives me absolutely insane about most financial advice. These so-called experts with their perfect teeth and expensive suits tell you that wealth building is all about discipline and poverty is just a character flaw. They'll lecture you about skipping your morning coffee as if saving $4 a day is going to magically transform you into Warren Buffett, but this advice completely ignores a fundamental economic reality that economists have a fancy name for, but regular people experience every single day. It's called the poverty penalty. And it's the reason why being broke costs you money just for existing. Think of it like a subscription service you never signed up for but can't cancel. Every month, just for having the audacity to be poor, you get charged extra fees that rich people never even see. Let me break this down with something so basic it sounds ridiculous, but stick with me because this is where it gets interesting. Laundry detergent. If you've got $50 burning a hole in your pocket, you stroll into Costco like you own the place and grab that industrial size container. Cost per load comes out to maybe 15 cents. You're set for the next 6 months. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have $50 to tie up in soap inventory. You've got $7 until Friday. So you shuffle into the corner store and buy the tiny bottle that'll last you 2 weeks if you're lucky. Cost per load jumps to 60 cents. Same exact chemical formula, same exact result, but you're paying 4 times more simply because you couldn't afford the bulk discount. This isn't just about detergent. This pattern repeats with toilet paper, shampoo, diapers, cooking oil, basically everything non-perishable in your house. The mathematical reality is brutal. If you're broke, your personal inflation rate is technically higher than someone with money because you're permanently locked out of economies of scale. But the real kicker comes when we start talking about banking. This is where I genuinely lose my mind because the system is specifically designed to kick you when you're down. If you maintain a $5,000 balance, banks treat you like royalty. Free checking, no monthly fees, maybe even a tiny bit of interest that wouldn't buy you a candy bar. But drop below their magical minimum and suddenly you're public enemy number one. Your account hits $19. A subscription auto renews for $25. Boom, you're negative $6 and the bank hits you with a $35 penalty for the privilege of being poor. Let's do some quick math here. You effectively borrowed $6 for maybe 12 hours and paid $35 for the service. That works out to an annual percentage rate of over 50,000%. If a loan shark charged those rates, they'd be wearing orange jumpsuits. When a bank does it, it's just Tuesday. In previous years, banks collected over $11 billion in overdraft fees and still collect nearly $6 billion a year, almost exclusively from people with less than $1,000 to their names. The wealthy earn interest on their money, the poor pay interest just for trying to survive. It's wealth redistribution in reverse disguised as customer service. Now I can already hear the comments section firing up. Just don't spend money you don't have, Nick. keep better track of your finances. And sure, in a perfect world where humans are rational calculating machines, you'd be absolutely right. But here's where psychology crashes into economics and creates a perfect storm. When you're genuinely stressed about money, when you're lying awake at night wondering how you'll make rent, something fascinating and terrifying happens to your brain. Studies show that financial stress literally reduces your cognitive capacity by about 13 IQ points. That's equivalent to pulling an all-nighter or being legally drunk. Your brain becomes so consumed with immediate survival that you physically lose the ability to make long-term strategic decisions. This is why people make choices that seem obviously stupid to outsiders. The payday loan at 400% interest, the lottery ticket when groceries would be smarter, the fast food when cooking would save money. It's not stupidity, it's cognitive overload. Your mental bandwidth is maxed out just trying to survive today, let alone plan for next month. The wealthy person doesn't just save money on better purchases, they save mental energy by not having to constantly worry about financial survival. That freed up brain power gets invested in learning new skills, building businesses, or simply making better long-term decisions. Meanwhile, the broke person is stuck in a hamster wheel of constant low-level panic. Let's scale this up to something bigger. Transportation. Unless you live in maybe 3 American cities with decent public transit, you need a car to work. It's like the person with good credit and some savings buys a 3-year-old Honda Civic. $15,000 financed at 4% interest, runs for 12 years with basic maintenance. Total cost of ownership stays reasonable. Now, look at someone with bad credit and no down payment. They need wheels to get to the job that pays the bills. Off they go to one of those buy here, pay here lots where desperation meets predatory lending. They sell a 10-year-old car with 150,000 miles for $12,000. It's actually worth maybe $6,000, but the customer doesn't have options. Bad credit means 24% interest. Do the math over 5 years and they'll pay over $20,000 for a car that was worth $6,000 on a good day. Here's the beautiful irony. That car will probably die before the loan is paid off. So now they're making payments on a dead vehicle while somehow financing another clunker. It's not just transportation anymore. It's a subscription service to financial hell. This poverty penalty shows up everywhere once you start looking for it. You can't afford the security deposit for the nice apartment, so you rent the month-to-month place that costs $300 more per month. You can't afford the dentist for the small cavity, so you wait until it becomes a root canal that costs 10 times more. You can't afford the good work boots, so you buy the cheap ones that fall apart every 6 months. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. Every late fee, every overdraft charge, every predatory interest rate is a feature, not a bug. These companies have entire departments dedicated to extracting maximum revenue from people who can least afford it. But here's what most people miss, and it's the key to everything we're going to talk about in the next part of this series. The first step out of this trap isn't trying to get rich, it's trying to stop the bleeding. The most brutal realization about escaping this financial nightmare is that traditional investment advice becomes almost insulting when you're trapped in the poverty penalty system. Some finance bro on YouTube will tell you to invest in index funds for that sweet 8% annual return while you're getting demolished by 22% credit card interest. It's like telling someone to water their garden while their house is actively burning down. If you're carrying high interest debt, paying that off isn't just smart financial planning. It's literally the best guaranteed return on investment you'll ever find in your lifetime. No hedge fund manager, no crypto genius, no stock picking wizard can promise you a guaranteed 22% return. But your credit card company is graciously offering you exactly that opportunity every single month. The mathematical hierarchy is crystal clear. Before you even think about building wealth, you have to stop hemorrhaging money. Before you can play offense, you need to shore up your defense. This is where most people get the sequence completely backwards and wonder why they're spinning their wheels. Let me introduce you to the concept that changes everything. Financial experts call it the buffer, but I prefer to think of it as your escape pod from the poverty penalty matrix. It's that magical first $1,000 that transforms from being impossible to save to being the most powerful tool in your financial arsenal. When you have $0 saved, a flat tire isn't just inconvenient, it's a catastrophe that sends you spiraling into payday loan territory. But when you've got that first grand sitting in your account, that same flat tire becomes what it should be, a minor annoyance that you handle like a functioning adult. You're not calling your mom at midnight, begging for money, or putting it on a credit card that's already maxed out. You just fix the tire and move on with your life. That buffer doesn't just protect you from emergencies, it fundamentally rewrites the rules of how money works in your favor. With $1,000 in the bank, you can raise your insurance deductible from $200 to $1,000. Sounds scary, right? Wrong. That higher deductible drops your monthly premium by maybe $60. You just turned having money into making money. Your emergency fund is now paying you every single month for existing. Here's where it gets really interesting. That same $1,000 buffer allows you to think beyond survival mode for the first time in years. You can finally buy the good winter coat instead of layering 3 cheap jackets. You can get the quality kitchen knife that lasts decades instead of replacing the dollar store version every few months. You can fix the small leak before it becomes a floor replacement nightmare. This is what I call buying your freedom one purchase at a time. Every time you choose the higher quality option that lasts longer, you're essentially paying a fee to exit the poverty penalty club. It's like buying a lifetime membership to not getting screwed over anymore. But here's the psychological trap that destroys most people right when they start making progress. The second you accumulate any meaningful cash, your brain starts screaming for immediate gratification. You've been depriving yourself for months, eating ramen and skipping movies, and suddenly you've got some breathing room. The temptation to blow it on something fun becomes overwhelming. This is where discipline meets strategy, and most people fail the test. That money burning a hole in your pocket isn't play money, it's ammunition in a war against a system designed to keep you broke. Every dollar you spend on temporary pleasure instead of permanent solutions is a dollar that could have bought you out of the penalty system forever. Think about it this way. You could spend $200 on a night out that you'll barely remember in 6 months, or you could spend that same money on quality work boots that eliminate the need to buy cheap shoes every few months for the next 5 years. One option gives you Instagram stories, the other gives you financial freedom. The shift from consumer to investor in your own life requires rewiring how you evaluate purchases. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this monthly payment?" you start asking, "What's the total cost of ownership over time?" The car dealership wants you focused on that monthly payment because it hides the real cost. They'll stretch a loan to 8 years to make the payment look manageable while you end up paying twice what the car was worth. You need to start thinking like an accountant for your own life. Every purchase becomes a business decision. Is this solving a problem permanently or just kicking it down the road? Is this making my life more expensive or less expensive over time? Am I buying a solution or just renting a temporary fix? Here's something that'll blow your mind once you start paying attention. The entire economy is designed around keeping you in rental mode for everything. You rent your apartment instead of building equity. You lease your car instead of owning an asset. You finance your furniture at 29% interest instead of buying used. You're basically paying subscription fees for your entire existence. Companies love customers who are broke because broke customers are loyal customers, not by choice, but by necessity. You can't afford to switch phone carriers because you can't pay the early termination fee. You can't move to a cheaper apartment because you don't have money for deposits and moving trucks. You can't refinance your high-interest loans because your credit is shot from being broke. This is why that first $1,000 is so revolutionary. It doesn't just give you emergency protection, it gives you options. Options to negotiate better rates, options to switch providers, options to walk away from bad deals. Rich people aren't necessarily smarter with money, They just have more options because they have more liquidity. The beautiful thing about understanding this system is that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every fee starts looking like what it really is, a tax on being poor. Every subscription auto-renewal becomes an obvious cash grab. Every predatory lending offer reveals itself as the trap it was designed to be. You start getting genuinely angry at the math, and that anger becomes fuel. Every overdraft fee pisses you off enough to build a bigger buffer. Every convenience fee motivates you to plan better. Every interest charge reminds you why debt is the enemy and cash is your weapon. This isn't about becoming a penny-pinching miser who never enjoys life. It's about becoming strategically aggressive with your money, instead of passively letting it leak away through 1,000 tiny cuts. You're not depriving yourself. You're investing in a future where money works for you instead of against you. The people who escape this trap aren't necessarily the ones who make the most money. They're the ones who refuse to keep paying the poor tax once they understand how the game works. The path out of this financial prison isn't complicated, but it requires you to think like a chess player instead of a checkers player. Most people focus on the next move, the next paycheck, the next month, but the people who actually escape this system are thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. Here's your step-by-step blueprint for breaking free from the poverty penalty machine, and I promise you it's not what the personal finance influencers are peddling on Instagram. Step 1 is what I call the bleeding audit. You need to become a financial detective in your own life. Grab your bank statements from the last 3 months and hunt down every single fee, every subscription you forgot about, every automatic payment that's quietly draining your account. Circle them in red pen, because that's literally money bleeding out of your financial arteries. I'm talking about that gym membership you haven't used since January, the premium Netflix plan when the basic one would work fine, the bank fees for having the audacity to be poor, the late charges on bills you forgot about, the convenience fees for paying bills online because apparently companies now charge you for the privilege of giving them money. Add it all up and prepare to be genuinely horrified. Most people discover they're hemorrhaging $200 to $300 every month on absolute garbage. That's money that could be building your escape fund instead of funding some corporation's quarterly profits. This isn't about becoming a monk who lives off water and air. This is about stopping the financial equivalent of leaving your front door wide open while running the air conditioning. Step 2 is the fortress strategy. You're going to build what I call your financial fortress, and it starts with exactly $1,000. Not $5,000, not $10,000, just $1,000. This isn't your investment fund or your vacation money or your new car fund. This is your middle finger to the poverty penalty system sitting in a boring savings account earning basically nothing in interest. I know what you're thinking, Nick, I can barely afford groceries and you want me to save $1,000. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to tell you. You can't afford not to save that money. Every month you don't have that buffer is another month you're playing Russian roulette with your finances, one unexpected expense away from spiraling deeper into the penalty system. Start with $25. If 25 feels impossible, start with 10. If 10 feels impossible, start with 5. The amount doesn't matter initially. What matters is building the habit of paying yourself first before the system gets its claws into your paycheck. Set up an automatic transfer on payday so the money disappears before you can spend it on something stupid. Here's a mind hack that actually works. Don't think of this as saving money. Think of it as paying the most important bill of your life, the bill that buys your freedom from financial slavery. You wouldn't skip your rent payment, so don't skip your freedom payment. Step 3 is where most people completely lose their minds, and it's the secret weapon that separates people who escape from people who stay trapped forever. It's called the quality investment strategy, and it requires you to spend more money upfront to save massive amounts over time. Remember, you're not just buying products anymore, you're making strategic investments in eliminating future poverty penalties, that $15 kitchen knife that needs sharpening every week versus the $60 knife that stays sharp for years, that $30 pair of work shoes that falls apart in 3 months versus the $120 boots that last 3 years. So there you have it. The poverty penalty isn't some abstract economic theory, it's a mathematical prison with real bars made of overdraft fees and interest charges. The good news? Now that you understand the game, you can stop playing by their rules and start winning. Break the cycle, build that buffer, and buy your way out one quality purchase at a time. Your future self will thank you for refusing to stay broke.